The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host alone and are not shared by those referenced or cited. Thanks for listening. Greetings, welcome to Borderline Stable. You have accidentally or intentionally clicked on a link that resulted in you getting Borderline Stable. This is the first episode of Borderline Stable in which I, your host, Andy Illusion, will be discussing the purposes of this podcast and where it came from and what my goals are and what I intend to do with it. This podcast came about because I enjoy talking and discussing things with people and discussing the issues of the day and economics and political policy and what's going on in the world around us. And I have a little history about myself. I have been on public forums for probably almost 20 years. To be honest, all the way back to the mid-90s. Now, back in the mid-90s, there wasn't the the internet that we have today by far. We have such an interesting system now where we can discuss things with people all around the world, which is another thing I like about it, is that we can talk to people in China and in India and in Europe about these topics, and I think we can learn something when we discuss them. But back in the day, little short story about myself, we didn't have high-speed internet connections. We had things called modems. A lot of people don't even know what a modem is. Modulation, demodulation. It is a system where computer data is turned into sound, and then you send it over your phone line, and then you send it to another modem on the other side, which demodulates it, turns it from sound back into data, and that's how you connect with people. And so you would connect your modem up to your phone line, and you would have to punch in a number, and it would call up this other person on the other, whoever, somewhere else, and then you would, and it would these weird noises, and it would go, and you would connect over your modems to what was called bulletin board systems. Okay, now a bulletin board system there was some super nerd somewhere, and he had a computer, and he bought a second line or a third line, and he had a bank of modems over there, and you would call up his number, and there were lists of these bulletin board systems available that you could get a hold of. And you would call up his number, and you would connect to the bulletin board system at his place, and it would have this software. It was all text-based. There was no mouse clicking and nothing like that. And it was all text-based, and so people would post stuff on there, and then you would read their stuff, and someone would inevitably put up something really, really stupid, and so you would decide to respond to that person. And when you responded, you would sit there and type out this, a page and a half of this response to this brilliant enlightenment to his stupid question that he shouldn't have asked. And then someone in the house would pick up the phone, and they would hear that static noise, and everything like that, and then they would hang up. And you wouldn't know that. And so you were sitting at your computer and you were typing, and all of a sudden your computer wouldn't respond. And you'd be sitting there going, what's going on? Something wrong. And you would look over at your modem, and the light would click off. And you would sit there and go, no! And everything that you had written up to that point was gone. It was all gone. Okay, and that was the early days. Then they came out with bulletin board software. Now this was a huge upgrade, because then what you do is you would connect to the bulletin board system, and you would load up the software, and it would download onto your computer all of the posts that all were on the bulletin board system. Then you could go offline, disconnect, and you could read all the posts that were on there and respond on there while you were offline. And you could respond and write all your posts out, and then the next day or whenever you could call up and connect again, you would call them up and you would hit upload, and it would upload all the posts that you wrote and download all the new posts that were on the forum. And that was really, really awesome because no one could kick you off in the middle of writing something. The only problem was, inevitably, there would be like 5 other posts responding to the same post that you were responding to, but they did so, 2 days ago, and you didn't know about it yet. And so your post was outdated before it was ever on the forum. And of course, now these forums were local; they were very local. So, like, you didn't call a forum a BBS, a bulletin board system in Michigan, when you're in Ohio. Okay, and so there was only like 25 people on the bulletin board system anyway. So you were always responding to the same people, and they were the only ones that were responding to you. So it was a very like cliquish group, And then you would call another forum, or another bulletin board system somewhere, and they would have their own clique there. But that's where I came from. I've been posting and chatting with people about all these various topics for years, decades now, literally. And what I like, again, like I said, what I like about it is there's always something that I don't know. There's always something that someone else doesn't know. And I love the interaction and being able to talk and discuss things with people. And so my goal for this podcast is to be a discussion about the topics of the day. They're going to be rather simple discussions. I'm not a PhD. I'm not a brilliant scholar of international politics. I'm nothing like that. I'm a pretty average person. There's nothing special about me at all. So some of the things that I'm going to bring up they're going to be really simplistic. There's going to be simple discussions about the policies and simple things like that. Now, what I don't like about forums and politics in general is, of course, what everyone doesn't like about politics in general is that it's very... People get very riled up and they start attacking each other, and you're a piece of trash, and you're a conservative, fascist, neo-Nazi, Hitlerite, and you're a hippie, you're a hippie, Stalinist, communist, socialist, somethingist, and you're Chairman Mayo and Carnot, and you're gonna ruin the country. Yeah, so that kind of stuff. Not my favorite aspect of of forums and talking and stuff like that. So that's not what I want to do with this podcast. That's not what I intend to do with this podcast. I'm not going to sit here and just attack people. I think it is entirely possible for 2 people to discuss something and not agree on it and still be able to remain civil about it. I'm hoping that even if most of you completely disagree with everything that I have to say, you will at least understand where I'm coming from and why I believe what I believe. Even if you disagree with it, that's fine. I can handle that. But I also don't want to... I don't want to give you the impression that I'm not going to... I do not believe that all ideas are equally valid. That concept that, my idea is just as valid as anyone else's. I think a car is a good investment. You can make a lot of money on a car. Well, you're wrong. Cars go down in value like a rock. If that's your investment plan is to be broke. Okay? So I'm not going to dignify that with some air of validity if it's a dumb idea. So if you have some really retarded idea, I'm going to call your idea retarded. But that doesn't mean I'm calling you retarded. We can disagree. You think your plan's awesome? Go for it. But I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. Well, that's a pretty brilliant plan. In fact, I want to invest all my money into soybeans. No, no, that's not a brilliant plan. You're going to lose your money if you do that. It's not a wise plan. And I intend to not engage in any kind of sniping. And you know what sniping is, okay? That's where you pop up and take a shot at somebody and then you duck down and disappear. I'm not going to do that. Okay, that doesn't mean that I'm going to consider everyone's ideas. Again, I'm not going to consider everyone's ideas to be valid if they're dumb. But I'm not going to sit here and do a character assassination. This isn't about, Obama, he's a bad president because he went to that window and he thought he was going in the White House at a window and he couldn't get through the window, and that's a bad president. Really? And what are we supposed to gain from that? Okay, well, anyone that doesn't go through a window at a White House, that's a guy that we want to be president. These kinds of arguments, that they don't work for me at all. I want to know about policies. I want to know about how do these effects? What are the empirical evidence that we do have? What do how do these things work together or work against each other, or how they don't work at all? That's what I want to know about. And whether or not Obama can find the correct door to go through at the White House, that is not of my concern. It's like, Bush got a shoe thrown at him, and so everyone that doesn't have a shoe thrown at him, that's the standard that we use for picking a president. Fail. Let's file that under fail. Just fail. We're not using that system here. And so I'm not those kinds of stories. If that's what you're looking for, you're at the wrong podcast. Okay? That's not what I'm going to do here. I'm going to discuss some of the topics, some of the issues, how they interact, what evidence we have, how these things fit together, as best I know. And also, I wouldn't mind if you have some questions. And most of my material is going to come from forums. It's going to come from things that people have said on forums to me, things that people have brought up, articles that people have brought up, and I'll discuss those things. I will also do my best to link every single thing that I cite to the website. The website is borderlinestable.net. That is my website for now. The website will have every single show that I can. I'm still learning how the podcasts are handled and where they're stored and how much that costs, because right now cost is an issue for me. So I will try to have everything linked to at the website with all the citations in the show at the website. So if you have a question about something that I've mentioned on here and you think, well, I don't know if he's really true about that. Well, you can at least go to the website and see the links where I got that information from. And then you can decide for yourself. If you wish to contact me at andylusion@borderlinestable.net. That is my address. The email will be located on the website. I'm also on Twitter, which I'm not really sure how I'm going to use yet, if I'm going to use it at all. I just don't know really how that's going to work out. Twitter seems to lend itself to the kind of sniping that I don't enjoy. Twitter seems to just inherently lend itself to sniping because, it's 140 characters or whatever it is, I can't remember. Well, with something so small, discussions and topics and back and forth discussing anything requires, more words, more verbiage than just 140 characters. That doesn't. What can you say? Well, what you can say is, you suck, no, you suck, no, you suck, no, you suck, no, you suck. Well, that's helpful. That's real helpful. I'm enlightened, aren't you? I feel that I have gained so much from Twitter. So I don't know how to use it yet. And I guess until I do, I probably will just use Twitter to say, hey, I made another podcast, or something like that. I don't know. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do. So that's the goals for the show. And I would hope that everyone will be able, if you wish to contact me and send me messages or questions about something that you want, what about this? If you want to ask me a question about what I think on the various issues, that is perfectly fine. You can send me an email. I will try and get to them. I don't see that any reason why I wouldn't be able to yet, but, who knows what the future will hold. But I want to say one last thing. I have never understood the concept that if I disagree with someone or someone disagrees with me, that is a reason why I wish ill will on you or you wish ill will on me. I don't understand that. And I never have. A short story, there was a guy that I worked with, that was 4 years ago. And he and I never got along. We never got along. He was a pretty crass person. I'm not. And we just were oil and water. We did not work together at all very well. But we worked in the same company. Well, one day he got a new job that was going to pay him almost 50% more than what I was earning there. And so I came over and I said, "Man, that is awesome. I'm congratulations on your new job. I hope you do well." And he got this look on his face like. When did you beam down? Why are you saying that to me? We don't get along at all. And why would I want him not to do well? I was discussing with this other guy that I shopped at Walmart, and he said to me, "Well, you just keep shopping at Walmart because I'm a truck driver there, and I'm earning a lot of money off of you." And I'm thinking, great. Why would I want someone else to do poorly? Why would I want them to do bad? Why would anyone want someone else to do bad? I want everyone to succeed. The best thing that you guys can tell me is that I'm doing really well and I'm succeeding in life. I think the more people that succeed in this world, the better it is for everyone. I want everyone to be a millionaire. I want everyone to be wealthy. I want everyone to succeed in life. I think that's awesome. Why would we not want that? And I would hope that I want you to know that even if I disagree with you, even if I disagree with the things you say, even if you disagree with me, that I hope that you would see that I want everyone to succeed, including you. And I think that everyone should be able to disagree and want the best for everyone else, even if you oppose their views. Of course, that would be a delusion. And I'm here to dispel the delusion and delusion. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope to see you next podcast. I'm going to try and get it out at some point before the end of this month. And until then, be well.